My name is Randy Gardner, and I'm a proud member of the AES. I was born and raised in Michigan, in Muskegon, Michigan. Growing up, my sister was always singing in choir. My brother played cornet in a high school band. So I eventually started playing cornet in grade school band. And always listening to records, and I kind of gravitated towards trumpet players, from the bands Blood, Sweat and Tears in Chicago. But I also like listening to Yes. My best friend, his father owned Muskegon Music Company, which distributed jukeboxes. So my friend always had access to 45s, and they had a jukebox in their basement, so we were always listening to records at that time. This is back in the late 60s, early 70s. My best friend's father, who owned the jukebox company, he also built Heathkit projects and Heathkit stereos. And he gave me, and I still have it, a Heathkit tube amplifier and a Gerard Lab 80 turntable. Another friend's father was a TV repairman. And I remember going over to his shop one time and extracting 3 old tube phonographs out of his trash, and I put together one stereo hi-fi player for myself. That was my first stereo equipment. In 1975, I bought an Akai 4-channel reel-to-reel, a model 1730, from my brother-in-law, he bought it in Vietnam when he was in the war. Because I had an interest in recording, so that machine allowed me to record my high school's orchestra doing Handel's Messiah, and also recorded our high school's marching band halftime highlight show. And listening to records like George Benson, I noticed that Al Schmidt was his engineer, and I think Al received a Grammy in 1976 for George Benson's Breezin'. So just listening to these records and knowing that there are guys that actually engineer this sound, that's what I wanted to do. How do you get in to be a recording engineer? My guidance counselor in high school didn't have a clue. She researched and said, oh, there's plenty of schools that have offer DJ programs. And I told her, I said, I don't want to be a DJ, I want to make the records that they spin. I graduated in 1976 from high school and went to a local community college and playing in the jazz band, playing trumpet, but I also ran sound from the stage. So I would take along the custom 6-channel mixer with the 2 Fender speaker columns that I could fit in my Audi 100. I was also running sound for the local Campus Life organization for their local band. And I was at a convention one time with Campus Life, and I heard their touring group, and it sounded awful. And I wanted to audition to be their sound guy because I thought I could help them. And they never had anybody audition for a sound guy before. And I got it, I think, out of default. So I toured for 2 years with this group, a music and drama group, doing about 18 to 21 shows a week, high school assemblies and churches and venues at night. So I can probably safely say I've mixed in just about every kind of weird environment. Growing up and going to church, my father actually was a member of the radio committee, as our church would broadcast our evening services live on an AM station. And so he was one of the engineers. I asked if I could join the radio committee to help them run sound during the church service, but they did it from an isolated room in the balcony of the church. I got with the pastor, and so we came up with the idea of moving the front of house mixer to the balcony rather than being in that room. And also during that time, I've been in contact with Bill Thrasher with Mobile Sound. He invited me to come down there and check them out. So after about a 3-month trial period, they hired me. Their clients were all the Billy Graham Crusades and Amway conventions and Pat Boone and Debbie Boone. So starting in 1980, I was Debbie's engineer, front of house engineer for about 3 years, and I did all Pat shows too. So I worked with Pat and Debbie Boone. That's a drum fill for some people might get that. And then in 1982, the sound company acquired Ronnie Millsap and Barbara Mandrell as other clients. And I was assigned to mix with Ronnie Millsap. In 1984, Ronnie Millsap hired me away from Mobile Sound, which caused me to move to Nashville. So I started touring with Ronnie Milsap then, and I was his front of house engineer for 11 years. So I got to work with Ronnie on 9 of his records from start to finish, working with engineers like Kyle Lenning and Bill Schnee, Ben Harris, Joe Bogan. So learning a lot from those guys. Working with Ronnie really taught me a lot. Very nice man, very particular with what he hears. And so that really helped my engineering skills. In 1993, I get a call while out on the road with Ronnie. I get a call from Steve Warner offering me a job with him as front of house engineer and production manager. And right away, he had me start engineering his studio records. Currently, I still work with Steve Warner. I've been with Steve for over 22 years now as his front of house engineer on the road, a production manager, and I've recorded his last 10 CDs in the studio. One of my favorite moments was working with Steve Warner on his No More Mr. Nice Guy album. And we're going to go over to Chet Atkins' house to have him put his part on a particular song. So I bring the 2-inch master tape over to Chet's. Steve and Chet are chatting away, and I'm going to put the tape on the machine. I'm going to clean the heads like you normally do. And I noticed what looks to be like brown flags off the lifters. And I'm looking at that, and it's shedded tape that had adhered to the lifters, and I had to use my fingernail to scrape off all this tape residue. And it took me about 20 minutes to do a good head cleaning and tape pad cleaning on this machine. And I asked Chet, have you been playing an old tape that was shedding on your machine? And he said, yeah, I pulled a tape out and put it on there, and I kept stopping the machine. I didn't know why. I decided to become an AES member to further my education into audio because I didn't really have any audio education. In 1983, I went to my first AES convention in New York City. That was very interesting, being around like-minded engineers and the companies, the manufacturers. Sit up straight while you're mixing, or get your work environment where it's comfortable, where you're not leaning over with your head over. The reason I say that now is because I'm going to a chiropractor now about 3 times a week because of neck issues that I have from years of poor posture, sitting at a console probably. Learn the basics, learn what frequency range different instruments have, learn the use of high-pass filters, learn how to run sound in a live environment. If you can make it sound good in a live environment, you'll definitely have a good chance to make it sound good in a controlled environment.